Hello and welcome to the first Keep It Spiritual show with myself, Chris Meredith. Now, you may have heard of the Keep It Spiritual podcast. You can get that right now in the link underneath. Now, first of all, this is the first Keep It Spiritual show that I have done, and the reason why I wanted to make these videos and podcast is really, to give a little bit of education to all things spiritual. So this is a safe place for myself and you to learn about angels, fairies, witches, psychics, mediums, spirits, and everything in between. So make sure you subscribe right now. Go and click that bell. Make sure you get subscribed right there so you will not miss a show. Now, for the first episode of the Keep It Spiritual show, I have got a stellar guest just for you. It's a lovely Rosalind Moody. Now, you may have heard of her. She is the editor of Soul and Spirit magazine. Now, I've admired Soul and Spirit magazine for so many years, and for myself, it's been a little bit of an outlet. And when I've been doing normal jobs, other jobs than this and my presenting work, it's been a way to really keep myself in that spiritual world, and I'm sure it does with many of you. So I could not think of a better guest really to interview right now and find out all about what goes on in Soul and Spirit and kind of who is Rosalind Moody. Here she is, and I hope you enjoy the interview. You're the editor of one of my favorite magazines, which is Soul and Spirit. So first of all, for anyone out there that doesn't know what is Soul and Spirit?
So Soul and Spirit is a monthly glossy magazine sold all over the world. So mainly in the UK, but now America, Australia, New Zealand. We cover everything from yoga to crystals, meditation, angels, fairies. We've got so many things in the magazine. It's so hard to choose what I'm going to put in the magazine. Each issue it's such a specific collation of features that I would want it to be 1,000 pages long if I could. But no, it's very colourful, vibrant, and if you're feeling down, people take it to bed, they read it in bed, and it's just a self-care practice for them, or they're reading it on the bus. There's just so much that the magazine can offer, and giveaways, freebies, extra mini mags, posters. We've got all of it, and there's just content coming out of it all the time, and I love working for the magazine.
It's lovely, and it really shows as well. It really, really does show. So what's been your journey to Soul and Spirit?
So I joined the magazine about a year and a half ago, back in summer 2018, and I just got back from traveling. So if any of my friends are watching this, they'll be like, oh, she's talking about traveling again. But I love my travel, and I'd just gone all over the world. I'd gone to Australia, New Zealand, up through Bali, Vietnam, Thailand. Had my own experiences, like stayed in a monastery in northern Thailand, and wow. I'd had Reiki in Sydney for the first time. Like I never knew what Reiki was until a colleague recommended it. I had a healing session in Bali with this really old healer who told me all these things that he thought were going to happen, and did these breathing techniques with me. And I wasn't a well-read spiritual person. I had the God delusion like 10 years ago, which probably got me thinking. And I've always been kind of spiritually minded, but I was just doing this flukes. They were just the universe kind of guiding me, come on, this way. So when I got home, I went back to my old company, which publishes Soul and Spirit, and that's in my hometown, Colchester in Essex. And the job was just open, and I literally fell into it. And the universe I've got to thank, because I had been on a call for another job, actually in Thailand, a few weeks before I got the job here. And they said, what would be your salary expectations? And I told them, I said out loud, it would be this. And then a few weeks later, I got the Soul and Spirit job, and it was the exact same salary. So I was like, I manifested this. I completely manifested this. It could not be more perfect. It was insane how it worked, but here I am, and a year and a half later, still going strong, still loving it. Massive plans for the magazine, so I'm about to be even more busy, but I can't wait.
And we love it as well. But that's kind of like the universe doing its thing right there for you.
Oh yeah, thank you, universe. Honestly, I had no idea it was going to go like that.
I see, love that. Absolutely love that, Rosalind. So, there's yourself, and you will have an amazing team that work with you on Soul and Spirit. I mean, what actually goes in, to bringing an issue out every month?
A lot of emails, a lot, a lot of emails. A lot of my contributors are all around the country and the world. I get pictures from all sorts of people, and I wish I could involve everyone, but sadly I can't. So there's a seasonal dossier at the front, which is an amalgamation of like seasonal features set by themes. So it could be manifestation or angels or gratitude or topic of conversation. And then there'll be a lot of columns as well. So my columnists very dear to our hearts. We're like a family here at Soul and Spirit. So there will be people that we've looked after for all 12, 13 years that we've been going. Then we'll be thinking about practical craft and cookery tips and things to get really mindful. And then there'll be the reader pages, or the society pages as we call them. So loads of giveaways, things that you can experience spirituality at hand, retreats, workshops, awards, campaigns, that kind of thing. And those 4 sections bring together the Soul and Spirit kind of feel. And there's always you can come at it: reading, doing, going places, traveling, trying new things. So every 4 weeks it's busy. Every 4 weeks we're up with the designers and we're signing pages off, and the cover obviously is with my baby, and she's a fun thing to do. She's tricky to get just right, because that on the newsstand it's going to be there's competition, of course, because there's so many amazing magazines out there. But yeah, it's competitive, but it's very thrilling.
I think you guys are the best. You don't have to worry about the competition.
Thank you.
And within that, but you were
Yeah.
saying that, it's like baking a cake, isn't it? I suppose, your
Yeah.
ingredients, and hopefully, it's going to be the most perfect magazine, and it really is. But I love about Soul and Spirit and the way that you do it, and the team, is that it's a very modern magazine, and it really is. And I like you have, you can go out and buy this, you can go and get this reading, but it kind of covers all bases, and it's perfect for someone that's just starting out, or it's someone that is really into, spirit, don't you think?
I'm so glad you say that, because although I come at it from a younger perspective, I'm very mindful that our core readership are those mums or maybe grandmas who don't have much time to themselves, maybe, or this is their special treat they pick up from the supermarket, and they know spirituality off the back of their hand. They've been to palmistry readers, they might feel that they have psychic skills, or they've read the tarot for a few years or decades, and they know it all. So for them to get something out of it, each issue, and to learn, I mean, we're all trying to upskill our spirituality, and it's easy for me to do that because it's literally my job. But for them, for their hobby, to be still coming back to Soul and Spirit and still kind of being loyal to us, and for us to keep teaching them something new, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it is, and you happen to do it every single episode, so keep it coming. I mean, with Soul and Spirit, Rosalind, why do you think a magazine like that is needed now more than ever?
Well, we're seeing a boom in so many different types of spiritual publishing. I mean, the fact that our digital abilities are coming up, like Instagram obviously has only been around for a few years, and podcasts now the fastest growing publishing platform.
Sure am.
Like, yeah, exactly, you really are, and you've come at such a good time, because it's more shareability, and the more we learn about our spirituality, the more we can share and teach others. So it's like catching fire, is how I like to put it, and it's just so convincing. It's so persuasive. There's not one. If you read a feature in Soul and Spirit, I mean, you could kind of say, yeah, but it's so persuasive. It just makes sense. And at this time where we need kind of our spirituality as much as we can, I mean, it's a tough world out there at the moment, and it won't be forever. I feel quite positive about it and optimistic, but just to have the capability to tell your future out of your palm, or tarot cards, or oracle cards, which we put on the magazine on the shelf, or astrology is an amazing thing. I love astrology, and I recently went to a workshop and learned all about moon signs and your Venus rising and ascendant signs. And the workshop course leader, Joanna Waters, said it's such a great way to see into the future and know that life moves in cycles. So we're in a cycle, like with our collective consciousness in the UK and in the world, we're in our shadow side, like Alexandra said, but I feel like we'll come out of it because life is a cycle and we're going through it together, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that my personal journey, yeah, exactly.
I'm with you there. There really is. I mean, I think, we're going through, a hard time right now, but, there really is light at the end of the tunnel. And I always think, never give up. That's the thing.
No.
No matter how hard things get, never give up. And that's where, magazines like Soul and Spirit, and the job yourself and your team do. Yes, it's a magazine. Yes, you've got to sell so much. But at the end of the day, you're enhancing people's lives, really, aren't you?
Yeah, and we really like to stand by the principles we've always stood by. And we recently published a blog about kindness because with rife social media and gossip and tabloids and things that we stay away from because we're not celebrity or gossip or really trend led, kindness is more crucial than ever. Just being mindful of your neighbor, your best friend, your family member, people you don't really know. I remember doing like a Buddhist metta, I think Metta Bhavana it's called. We had a Buddhist meditator come in, and it's kind of loving kindness in your circle, in your kind of wider circle, to people you don't know. And then in the UK, you can be kind to people you don't know or don't know personally, or you can even be kind to people you don't like or don't like you. Just the living kindness is something spiritual people have always stood close by to. And now I think other people are realizing we could really do with some kindness.
Yeah,
Am I spiritual? I'm not sure about that. But you can be whatever you want. Just be kind, be mindful. You don't have to call yourself spiritual if you don't want to. But it's becoming not just trendy, but I think it's becoming the only way forward. It's becoming crucial.
It is. No, it really is. And I 100% agree with you. I'm sure, listeners and the viewers will be there as well, Rosalind. So yourself, you mentioned a bit at the beginning of the video, about you've been traveling and things like that. I mean, what has your spiritual path been?
I think my spiritual path started when this really shows my age, I guess, but I'm a massive Jacqueline Wilson fan. And I read her book, Vicky Angel, when I was 10 or 11. And in that, one of the friends dies in a road accident, comes back as an angel or a spirit, or as a presence or whatever you want to call it, and kind of guides her friend grieving through the process with love and with light, and just letting her know that she's there. And that stuck with me, particularly that book. I like all of Jacqueline Wilson's books, but that stuck with me. And I've always been very open and spiritually minded, and always very curious about the world and wanted to travel. But I studied English and philosophy at university, so probably the philosophy got me. The idea of debate and ideas and not being able to prove what you're writing an essay about is not anywhere we can see. It's not visible. It's all conceptual. And always wanted to get into publishing. So I think crystals have always called to me. Yoga and meditation. I think the power of the mind is very interesting. And now I'm learning to harness my power of my mind with self-love and with affirmations and law of attraction as well. This is where I'm at the moment. And I'm not sure where I am on my journey. I'm not awakened yet, but there's sticky things happening, and I think I'm getting there. I'm kind of pushing through,
Yeah, totally. You're kind of awakening, I suppose. You're awakening to awaken.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm on my way.
You're on your way, definitely. So would you think, more people, around the world are definitely waking up, to their own spiritual self?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's happening all around us. I was just thinking, if I lived maybe in London or in a city, I mean, I'm in Colchester, which has a lot of cool things going on. But in London or Manchester and maybe New York, LA as well, you could go to a spiritual event every night of the week. And a few years ago, you could never have done that. Like Monday, go to a gong bath, which are amazing. Tuesday, crystal workshop. Wednesday, a Reiki one-to-one session. You could then Thursday night sit on a webinar for psychic skills. There are so many events happening, and the fact that there's too many for you to choose from means that it's people's livelihoods, it's people's jobs. The industry is booming. Influencers are going mad for it. I mean, I just looked on Instagram. There's 13 million posts with the hashtag crystals.
Wow.
It's people's careers. That people are obviously making a living from it, which means their interests are going up, and they're wanting to literally buy into it, which I think is a great thing.
It is. It really, really is. I mean, that sounds like the dream week within that, but it is. I mean, it really does. I need to get myself on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do. I mean, going back to soul and spirit for a second, Rosalind. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got so many different topics that you can cover. I mean, what's your favorite topic to cover?
That's a really good question, because I try not to have a favorite when it comes to features and columnists. I think what's really popular is our like mind body columnists like David Hamilton and things like that. How you can literally physiologically manipulate how your brain works, because really the brain might be absolutely so intelligent beyond our understanding, but it's also quite easy to trick. So I like the idea of visualization, and if you really want to do something, that you can train your brain into doing it as well as possible. But my favorite is probably the manifestation, the kind of Gabrielle Bernstein style, magnetizing attraction of things you want to happen, because it's happened for me before. So I know that it works. So I think if I was to say angels or crystals or something, I think it would mean that I would have had an experience that has really proven that to be true. And I know that people I've interviewed, their biggest spiritual thing is like an out of body experience, because they've had one already and they know how amazing and awakening and enlightening it is. So I've got things on my spiritual bucket list, but I would say the features that I've already experienced to be true are my favorites. But I mean, it's wide open. I could change my mind tomorrow, because I could have another spiritual experience tonight. Who knows?
You could do, but it's exciting as well to hear from you.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think your readers get from Soul and Spirit?
I think they get a spiritual friend. They get that person who's advising them. Well, they get a lot of voices in the magazine. They get the experts and the well-known columnists and the fresh faces and voices in the features. They might take it to bed because they've had a stressful day with their family or their work, and it's just their sacred time. They'll light a candle, and it will just be the time where they can just absorb everything they want. I've met women and men, but I've talked to women at conferences on, say, a Saturday somewhere in London. Say there's speakers, and I've talked to women just there on their own, like me, and they said, I don't take my friends and family to this. They don't even really know that I'm here. Like, they're not that they're lying about where they are, but they might have an Instagram profile that's separate to their personal one, because their friends and family might be kind of mocking them for their beliefs, or their husbands might be thinking, well, I don't believe in it, I need scientific proof. So these women are just, they go to these conferences to make friends, and I think that's what Soul and Spirit is guiding. It's the guiding light, it's the guiding friend. It's the kind of voice of reason, but the voice of spiritual reason. And I think that it's improving women and men, because men do read our title. It's improving their lives, and just for them to know that their spirituality has got their back, the universe is with them, their angels are with them, or exactly how to use the crystals so that their power and their energy is with them. It's empowering at the end of the day.
It is. I'm pretty sure men do it. There you go.
Of course you do. Thank you. Of course you do. Thank you.
Big time. That's proof right there. I mean, for yourself, Rosalind, the last question for you. What do you love most about working at Soul and Spirit?
No day is the same. Not one day is the same, or one press cycle is the same. The magazines are themed, like I was saying. The one you just held up is all about the meditation and rituals, because I like the idea of March mindfulness. I will never get deep enough to be bored, if that makes sense.
Totally. Well, thank you very much for that, Rosalind. Absolute pleasure to have you on here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later.
Now, really hope you enjoyed that chat with Rosalind Moody. She's great to learn from. And for me, it was fascinating to find out what goes on in one of my favorite spiritual magazines. And of course, get to know a little bit more the editor, which is Rosalind Moody. So thank you very much for your time there, sweetie. And then also as well, the reason why I'm doing this Keep It Spiritual show is for myself. And of course, is for you. It's to learn, and of course, it's to educate ourselves on all things spiritual. A little bit like a chat show, talk show, but you know, talking about spiritual things because we all love it and it's a very, very positive environment. So if there's anything that you would like me to cover, you know, just put it in the comments underneath and then we'll have a show on it. Why not? But coming up next time, we're going to be speaking to international psychic and medium, the lovely Barry John. So make sure you watch out for that. But in the meantime, if you've not listened to the podcast, the link is down below, and make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are down below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you've subscribed as well, and remember, keep it spiritual. See you later.